let's talk about reading to our children. Obviously, we want to drill this whole idea of read alouds. We want that to become a daily habit in your family's life. So, but what about during the summer? Okay, I know I'm supposed to read aloud. Well, one of the first suggestions I have for you is change your location. Okay, maybe your read aloud is normally in the living room. That's where we did it. But here's some ideas. Go outside and sit under a tree. Have the kids build a blanket fort in the living room, and then everybody climb inside the blanket fort and read a book together. Or put up a pop-up tent in the backyard and go have a camp out in your own backyard and read aloud in the tent. Maybe you're going to go on a camp out, take a book, and as you're getting the kids quieted down each evening and you're by the campfire, pull out your read aloud. I remember one time I was an adult and I was traveling with my family from Illinois back to California, and we got a hold of a book. Somebody had dropped it in the parking lot, and we tried to find out who owned it, and I think they had already left. So we grabbed the book, and as a group, we read aloud that book while we were driving across the country. It was so much fun. Everybody took turns reading. Obviously, if you're driving in a car and you get car sick, don't read in the car. But you can read the book, and I still have vivid memories of that story. And that was back, I was in my early 20s, I think, and I still have memories of that. And I was an adult. It was so much fun. If you do have a problem with getting car sick and you want to have read alouds, put on an audiobook. Audiobooks do not replace the children's being able to learn to read, but if you're driving, put on audiobooks and listen to read alouds. Oh my gosh. Okay, so my daughter loves How to Train Your Dragon, and the books are so much fun. And David Tennant, who is the one of the Doctor Who actors, Scottish accent, he read, you can get his audiobooks of him reading How to Train Your Dragon. It was so much fun. My daughter and I would listen to that while we were driving back and forth to the homeschool co-op that I was working in this last year, and she was studying in. So audiobooks are a great thing to do while you're driving. Okay, read about the places that you're going to go. What are your destinations? And let's read about that ahead of time. So are you going to go to the zoo? Well, then grab some books about animals and read aloud about elephants and kangaroos and maybe some of the animals that are unique to your zoo that the child has to go hunting for. So we're going to go to the zoo on Friday, and here's a book about lemurs. So let's make sure when we go to the zoo that you find the lemurs. Okay, are you going to go to the Grand Canyon or some other national landmark? Then grab a book about geology and read about how the rock structure, or maybe an adventure that took place in the Grand Canyon. And then when they go, they have some kind of a literature, maybe a scientific connection with what you're seeing, but use where you're going as the subject matter. Are you traveling to Oregon? Study about the Oregon Trail. Or several years ago, our family went around the country, and we went on a lot of places that were part of the Lewis and Clark Trail. And so we did some studying about Lewis and Clark and about the Oregon Trail. And we studied that so that when we were in those places, the kids were like, oh, this is the place that we were reading about. This is the place that you were talking about. Okay, so those are some ideas for reading aloud. Then you also want to have the kids reading. So have the kids read at the destinations. Now, am I talking about pulling out a book? Well, yes, you can do that. You can make sure that everybody brings something that they're reading. But how about this? Let's say you're going to go to Disney World. Okay, have the kids read the schedule of the different events that are going to be happening. I remember when we go to SeaWorld or Marine World or someplace like that, they would hand out a schedule, and it includes when are the different shows. Hand that to your child, as long as it's within his reading capability, and have him read and tell the family. Have him help you put a schedule together of what are the shows that we want to see and when should we see them, and have the child participate in that. If you're going to some museums or hands-on science places for kids, have them read the little placards. Have them read the little name plates. What's the name of this fish that we're looking at? Or tell me, what does this tell me about electricity? Now, I will tell you, a lot of kids, all they want to do is go around and touch everything, and so that may or may not work depending on how interested your child is. But don't push it. But there's an opportunity. So we tend to think reading by children is just books. But go outside the box. They can be reading all kinds of things. They can be reading road signs and helping you navigate. Okay, guys, we need to turn on Main Street. Everybody be looking. Where's the sign that's going to tell me Main Street is coming up? And they can be reading road signs. Reading is more than just in a book. Have them read instructions. So I talked at the beginning about messy projects. You know what? Summer is a great time to teach cooking skills. Bring your kids into the kitchen and have them start learning some life skills and have them read the recipe. And have them read, okay, now, how many carrots do I need? Find carrots. Where's the word carrots? And tell me, how many carrots do I need to chop up? Are they diced? Are they sliced? Do I need to cook them ahead of time? Have the child read the recipe for you. How-tos. Maybe you're working on a building project. Maybe you're going to get your homeschool library under control and put up some bookshelves. Well, guess what? Have the kid pull out the instruction manual and read to you the instructions for assembling the bookshelf. Things like that. Maybe you're going to do some gardening. I'm not a gardener, so I think a lot of the gardening has already happened. But maybe they could read to you about how to be making sure that we're watering our plants properly. There's so many things that they can be reading other than just a book, a novel, and they're practicing their reading skills. Another fun idea is to have them go on a scavenger hunt. So you set up several clues. Maybe it's around the house. Maybe you're going to run errands that day and set up little clues for them. And they have to read the clue to tell you what the next stop is. Or maybe the prize when they get to the end of the scavenger hunt is we're going to have an ice cream sundae. And so they have to follow all the clues around the house. What are they doing? They're reading. They're reading the clues to help them get to the prize. The library is, your local library, I know, has some kind of a summer reading program. Get your kids in that. Set a goal. This is how many books you're going to read. Or maybe instead of books, this is how many pages you're going to read, or how much time during the day you're going to read. Get them involved in the local library. Go to the library once a week. Bring home books. Bring home books that they enjoy with discernment. Please, I just really encourage people, have some discernment about what you bring home, because not everything at the library is something that you necessarily want your kids reading. Okay, that brings me to the topic of pleasure reading. During the year, we might have a reading curriculum where we have got certain books that we want our children to read through. But during the summer, that is a wonderful time to reinforce the idea of pleasure reading. And please model that for your children. Do they ever see you sitting around reading a book? Because what you do, they're going to want to imitate. Okay? So, pleasure reading is where the kids get to pick what they want to read about. Okay, again, with discernment. So one of the things that we notice, and this gets mentioned a lot, is when my child chooses his own readers or books that he wants to read, they're always easy. They're always below his grade level. He's a 5th grader. He shouldn't be reading 3rd grade books or 2nd grade books. He should be reading 5th grade books. Well, let me ask you a question. If he's 5th grade and he's actually reading at grade level, that means that everything he's reading is challenging. It's right at the level where he is able to read. So it's not necessarily easy. It's something that it might take a little bit of work for him to read. So yeah, for fun, he's going to pick something that's easy. And that is okay. That is okay. Because kids need to practice. If you want your kids to get really good at reading, they have to practice. And I would much rather practice when it's fun and it's easy than when I'm constantly struggling or it's challenging to me. I mean, think about something that you have to do in your life that, you know, oh gosh, I can't have any distractions right now. I've really got to concentrate. You know, that's hard. And you don't want to do that all day long, or you don't want to be made to do that, you know. So let them pick books that are easy. It's okay, because easy books are filled with what we call high frequency words. They're picking books that are filled with words that occur frequently in the language. And those are the words they need to be really good at. Those are the words that they need to be able to recognize by sight after you've developed those skills. And so if they're practicing, they're spending time reading those words, guess what? They're going to get faster and faster. And my daughter did that. She picked books that I'm like, oh, you can read better. You know, you can read harder books. She goes, but I really like this book. Well, if she liked it, I mean, she was reading it. I mean, she was practicing. And I watched the kinds of books that she chose. As she grew, so did the material that she chose. She picked harder and harder books. And now, you know, she just graduated high school, but I mean, she wants a big, thick book. She wants to sit down and read Pride and Prejudice for fun, you know, because she had lots and lots and lots of practice on easy books when she wanted to read them. I wanted to show you something. Here's a study that I found. I came across this many years ago, and it was a study that looked at how often kids read. And this is not assigned reading. This is just reading because they want to, okay, or finding something that they want to read. And they found that the kids who were highly skilled at reading read for 30 to 40 minutes a day. And by the end of the year, they had spent 167 hours during the year reading. The kids that were medium skilled, they were only spending about 10 minutes a day reading, and by the end of the year, they had only spent 57 hours reading. And the kids that were low skilled, they really struggled to read, they only read for about a minute a day. And by the end of the year, they had only practiced for 6 hours. I found this study, and I found those results at a time when my boys they could read, but they weren't fluent. They were still developing the fluency in their reading. And I found that, and it was right going into the summer. And I said, okay. If I want my kids to be good readers, then they need to be practicing. And so we initiated in our house what I called FOBWB time. I'll say that again, FOBWB. That meant flat on bunk with a book. And part of our summer routine, I talked about this at the beginning, just part of our summer routine, besides a little bit of time doing some school lessons, maybe some chores, one of the things they needed to do before they had free time to do whatever was on their plans, one of the things they had to do was to spend 30 minutes on their bunk with a book. It could be anything they picked, anything that they wanted that had been pre-approved, of course, you know, that was allowed in the house. They could be reading Star Wars, Ultimate Guide to Star Wars. They could be reading a novel. They could be, my middle son, I think I talked about, he loved science books. It could be whatever they wanted. Now, at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the summer, you know, that was a struggle for them. They're like, really, do I have to do this? The end of the year, the end of the summer, they were like, I don't want to stop. I don't want to, I'm not done. I'm not done. This is what I choose to do for another half hour or something during my free time. So, and I will tell you, their skills in reading skyrocketed that summer. So I know there's different philosophies on this. Some people say, oh, I'm not going to require that my kids read at all. I'm not going to require that. Other people are like, okay, you need to spend this time. It's going to be a requirement. I recommend that you have them spending time. I will tell you, the FOBWB time during the day gave me a break. I got to maybe take a quick nap. Maybe I needed to get something into the crock pot for dinner. Whatever. It gave me a chance to have some breathing time with a cup of coffee or whatever. And so I really liked it.